It's time!
Welcome to High School Pitchside. We have another fascinating episode for you.
More matches, more big clashes.
Let's talk about some of the big rivalries coming up this week.
More of your favorite features.
And trust me, you won't fall asleep in this history class.
And of course, we always want to hear from you.
Hear from your alma mater's players and coaches in Team Talk.
You know we can't leave you out. So send us your messages on social media and watch us react on FanView.
And you know we love a good little debate, right, Gio?
We've got you covered all season long on High School Pitchside.
High School Pitchside, your ultimate guide to all things schoolboy football, Thursdays at 8 p.m. on CVM TV.
Need to estimate your duty? Perform a track and trace? Search for a declaration?
Then download the Jamaica Customs mobile app today. The time by the Jamaica Customs Agency is
12 p.m.
When the bus the man, I want to watch my son play finals on CVM, you know.
But mums, you can't watch it on CVM website, man.
Score! My son score! My son score! My son score! My son score!
Greatness begins here.
Thanks for joining us for CVM News at noon. It's Wednesday, November 26. I'm Amoy Harriet. Up first this afternoon, local government minister Desmond McKenzie is pushing back against claims made by opposition leader Mark Golding that no opposition members have been included in the government's recovery committee since its formation. Speaking at a press briefing earlier this morning, Mr. McKenzie also addressed concerns about transparency and collaboration in the national recovery process in the wake of Hurricane Melissa.
Cabinet. So you have to be a member of the cabinet to sit on that subcommittee. So this argument about not sitting on relief committees, the minister, my colleague have just outlined that based on the structure of the National Disaster Response Committee, the Prime Minister is the chairman, I am the deputy chairman, the leader of the opposition is a member of that committee. We do have meetings, and I recall having several meetings during burial that we invited the opposition spokesperson on local government. I don't want the impression to be given that the government is bypassing the opposition. There's a committee that was established in Parliament. The opposition refused to sit on that committee. The Prime Minister outlined the steps that we are taking to have an inclusive Jamaica in the process. We're just getting out of the hurricane. It is going to take some time to put the structures in place. And I would urge the media and other Jamaicans to respect the fact that the government has been working and things will come around. Everything can happen on the same day.
Now, all high school students across the western parishes are expected to return to the classroom within the next 2 weeks on a shift basis. That assurance from Education Minister Dr. Dana Morris-Dixon, who says 24 of the 25 high schools in Region 4, which includes Westmoreland, Hanover, and St. James, are already reopened for grades 11 to 13. She says Cabinet has now approved funding to rebuild the schools hardest hit by the hurricane. But as reconstruction continues, the government has moved to implement stronger roofing standards for schools.
We're starting the work, and the ministry and the National Education Trust, we're moving as quick as we can, and we've already started work on 3 schools, Monroe and Hampton, and also St. Elizabeth Technical High Schools. So those 3 schools' work have already started. What we're doing is prioritizing the high schools and those with boarding facilities. As you'd understand, where many of our students in the West need to board. And so we have new roofing standards for schools, and all the work that will be done has to be done using those specifications, and we will be examining the work.
Now, in the aftermath of Hurricane Melissa, opposition spokesperson of Health and Wellness, Dr. Alfred Dawes, is warning that Jamaica's public health system is not getting the attention it urgently needs, arguing that only a multifaceted approach can prevent looming crises like the recent leptospirosis outbreak from escalating. Dr. Dawes is calling for stronger environmental management and faster testing as communities work through relief and recovery. Carla Ramdeen reports.
This uncollected garbage in Anchovy, St. James, sent to CVM News by concerned residents. There are growing concerns about inadequate garbage collection across the island, especially in areas affected by Hurricane Melissa. Amid the current outbreak of leptospirosis, opposition spokesman in health, Dr. Dawes, says the response cannot focus solely on public warnings about avoiding contaminated water and rodents, but it must also address the environmental factors fueling the outbreak.
Water is an issue. We heard from the MPs that water is rising. In some areas, there is a stench of dead animals. And you cannot simply say to people, avoid contaminated water, when that is the only water that they have available. So we have to look at the cleanup, we have to look at the access. And it is this multimodal approach that we're going to have in tandem with the work of the Ministry of Health that is going to stave off a worsening of the leptospirosis outbreak, as well as try to mitigate, if not completely avoid, the threat of dengue and chickpea.
Dr. Dawes is questioning the Health Ministry's current capacity to adequately confirm cases.
Now, the National Integrity Action staged a multi-stakeholder dialogue Tuesday morning, uniting policymakers with civil society to strengthen advocacy for accountability and citizen engagement in hurricane relief, recovery and reconstruction. Now, one such stakeholder was the Jamaica Accountability Meter portal JAMP, whose executive director, Jeanette Calder, is encouraging citizens to be the change they want to see. She says there is a common need for accountability for all persons in all areas affected by Hurricane Melissa, which tore through parishes, leaving homes destroyed, lives upended, and communities shattered.
And those words really don't do it justice. And in the wake of this catastrophe, we've been hearing the same cry from every corner of this nation. What is that cry? Where is the accountability for the generosity of Jamaicans here and abroad and the people who hold us dear?
Meanwhile, the United Nations has announced an additional $4 million to assist in relief and recovery efforts island-wide. UN Resident Coordinator to Jamaica, Dennis Zulu, speaking at a press briefing earlier today, says the funding will be implemented through UNICEF, PAHO, WHO, the International Organization for Migration, and the World Food Programme.
Through this fund, IOM will focus on emergency shelter and non-food items for 8,800 of the most vulnerable people in Westmoreland, Hanover, St. James and Trelawney, prioritizing last-mile delivery to families whose homes and possessions have been destroyed. WFP will provide cash-based assistance to 10,756 beneficiaries supporting hurricane-affected households in priority parishes to meet their food and essential needs. UNICEF will lead water and sanitation and hygiene response, reaching over 220,000 people with emergency safe water, restoration water supply systems, hygiene and sanitation support. PAHO WHO will support continuity of essential healthcare for 600,000 people.
There are now 10 confirmed cases of leptospirosis, 91 suspected cases, and 11 deaths. Now, Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton, while raising concern, says the outbreak was expected. The minister said the data from Hurricane Beryl showed spikes in similar diseases, but health officials have started preparing even before Hurricane Melissa. The minister notes officials are now assessing communities and targeting interventions to control the outbreak. And time now for a break, but stay with us. Our live interview comes up next.
The Carpet Store. We bring comfort to every step with flooring that blends softness and style. From carpets and rugs to durable vinyl flooring and expert installation services, we have everything you need to transform your space. And when it's time for a refresh, our carpet and upholstery cleaning service brings your flooring back to life. Visit us at 18 Dunbarton Avenue, Kingston. The Carpet Store, because you deserve the best.
Hey everybody, I'm Yendi, and this is Odyssey with Yendi. In this space, we connect with some of your favorite people as they share their journeys. Here we have some unfiltered conversations as we deep dive into their inspirations, motivations, and experiences to inspire our own life journey.
Issa Schoolboy Football is back! The storm has passed, but the spirit remains. This time it's bigger than football. CVM TV brings you a doubleheader from Waterhouse Mini Stadium. This Friday, November 28, the round of 16 continues with match day 2. In the opening encounter, Woolmer's Boys and Tivoli Gardens face off in a must-win for both teams. Kickoff is at 2 p.m. and Stats and Excelsior clash for a spot at the top of the group in the feature match at 4:15 p.m. Coverage is live and exclusive on CVM TV, CVM Television Jamaica on YouTube, and CVMTV.com. That's the return of the Issa Manning Cup, Friday, November 28. A doubleheader at Waterhouse Mini Stadium. Tivoli Gardens versus Woolmer's Boys at 2 p.m. and Stats versus Excelsior at 4:15 p.m.
Welcome back to CVM News at noon. Now, as I was sharing just before the break, Jamaica is now tracking 10 confirmed cases of leptospirosis. There are 91 suspected cases and 11 deaths. Joining us now for a live discussion is General Practitioner Dr. Orville Nemard to help us understand the risk of leptospirosis and what Jamaicans should be doing at this time. Dr. Nemard, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you, Amoy. My pleasure.
So 10 confirmed cases. In the grand scheme of things, I think that a lot of persons might be thinking, in a country where the population is near 3 million, this number may seem small. How concerned should the population or Jamaicans be at this time for the cases that we're hearing of?
Well, we have leptospirosis here year-round. This number of cases in this short space of time would be alarming because we don't normally see this number with this kind of frequency or the number of fatalities associated with it. The issue with leptospirosis is that it is a disease, a bacterial disease of mammals. So your cats, dogs, your horses, your household pets, your rats. These have the disease and they pass out the bacteria in the urine. So anything that can be contaminated with the urine, water or food, now becomes a source of spread. And the increase we're seeing is because of the floods which have taken place. So it's very common after flooding and in our environment after hurricanes because of the association with flooding. So you ingest food or water which is contaminated, or walking through water which has the bacteria, and if you have a nick on your skin somewhere, it gets a chance to enter the bloodstream. So we anticipated this would happen following the hurricane. We're seeing it manifest here now, and we're seeing people coming down with the disease in increased frequency, and yes, fatalities associated with it.
Doc, what are some of the symptoms that people should be watching out for?
Well, in the first phase, you will have fever and chills, headache, muscle aches, vomiting, diarrhea. And this, this can often be mistaken for so many other things. So your simple cold and flu can present with a lot of this. Further on, you may get redness of the eyes, and in severe cases, you may get jaundice. And you can see kidney failure, liver failure, meningitis, and clearly, as we have experienced, deaths associated with it.
Some of those illnesses you mentioned a while ago, the flu and all of that, Jamaicans, some of us typically have this this practice where whenever we are sick, we tend to avoid the medicines, avoid the doctor's office. We want to rub up with herbs and, our own measures that we deem, suitable. But what should be the first step? If someone think that they were exposed to leptospirosis, what should be the first steps that they take? Is it something that can be treated at home? How should they treat with this?
Well, cases do range from mild to severe, but there's no way to predict on an individual basis who's going to get a mild illness versus who's going to have a severe illness. So the ideal is that if you do have a concern that you have contracted leptospirosis, you should see a healthcare provider, because the treatment is antibiotics to try and get rid of the bacterial infection, and sometimes it requires intravenous antibiotics, which means you may end up in hospital to have to do that. And also because of the nature of the disease I mentioned, kidney failure, liver failure, meningitis, there's more supportive care which may be required than can be administered in a home setting.
Based on the current testing system that we have in place, how long does it take to actually confirm a case? Because we have, based on what Dr. Tufton said this morning, we have 10 confirmed and over 91 suspected. How long before we can confirm whether these 91 people actually do have leptospirosis or not?
I'm not sure what the laboratory turnaround time is for this confirmation, but there are rapid tests available on the market, what we call point of care tests, which will be able to give an indication fairly early on as to whether there's a high suspicion or maybe even a confirmed case. So I think with the increased risk, we probably will be seeing more of these kits appearing on the market, and therefore increasing our ability to make an early diagnosis and early intervention.
So we've had 11 confirmed deaths so far related to leptospirosis. What typically causes this severe or rapid deterioration in patients?
The individual propensity to deterioration is really ill understood. It's almost a luck of the draw. Certainly the extremes of life will fare worse. That is the very young, the very old. But as far as being able to predict from an individual basis who will be mild, moderate, or severe, difficult to say.
So there's no, like in some cases there are certain illnesses where they say that there are certain groups of people, whether age or by gender, who are more exposed to these illnesses. You're saying leptospirosis, there isn't such a case?
Well, by virtue of how it is acquired, there are some people who are more likely to get it. So persons who are, say butchers, or people who are out there moving through the pools of water, interacting with animals, very often those are more males. But as far as saying that there's a particular profile for an individual, no. As usual, if you have concomitant illnesses, meaning your diabetics, your hypertensives, whatever other risk factors you have, those will always add to the risk of your having a worse outcome than, say, a healthier person, somebody with a healthier profile.
Dr. Nemard, are you concerned that within the next 2 or so weeks we might be seeing more cases?
I think it's fair to say that we will, as long as we have these pools of water. And I don't think the projections are for these pools to disappear in 2 to 3 weeks. It certainly is possible that we will have that. In addition, there are the issues with currently, because again of the circumstances of the hurricane, food hygiene, hand washing, potable water, all of these factors go into play with the spread of something like leptospirosis.
You spoke about the hand washing. What exactly are some of the most important precautions families should be taking right now to protect themselves?
As best as possible, maintaining good hygiene. So washing hands before handling food, staying away from these stagnant pools of water, paying attention to your food items, rodents. If you have rats in the household, you want to make sure they're not getting at the food as best as they can. Making sure whatever water you're drinking is from a good source, good quality. And of course, staying out of those waters, those puddles of water.
All right, thank you so much. That was General Practitioner Dr. Orville Nemard. Thanks again, Dr. Nemard, for sharing with our viewers this afternoon. In news now overseas, Hong Kong emergency services are battling a major fire at a high-rise residential estate in the northern district of Tai Po. At least 4 people are reported to have been killed and others are trapped inside.